we are saying that we are here for a convention, which is a 3-day convention, then we stay till the last word, right? So from a governance point of view, and I would like to believe that we are custodians of governance in many ways. So I would like to say also from your formal positions and from your professional personas, thank you very much and congratulations for living up to who you should be in the workplace. Yay! I would just like to ask how many of you, other than for this convention, where the program happens to be part of the People Dynamics magazine, how many of you subscribe or receive People Dynamics, each publication outside of here, by show of hands? Okay, this side of there's left wing and right wing. I think the left wing has more People Dynamics readers than the right wing. People Dynamics is the official journal for the Institute of People Management. And the very content of People Dynamics is so that we open up the scope of human resources to go beyond being a support function that looks after compliance and the administrative issues and what is typically known as people management factors from an admin point of view. It is meant to get you to be business-wise. When you look at the program that has been laid out in the magazine, you will see that we had several streams where it addressed you in terms of shifting the mindset of organizations to become digitally savvy or digitally wise. Now, why would we share that with human resource practitioners? Why would we not save that for a generic business leadership convention? That's because we know that as people managers, you are not just dealing with human resource related affairs, but you're dealing with business leaders, you're dealing with line managers whose language you have to understand, whose businesses you have to support and respect, whose priorities you have to understand. When a person says, I want a person and I want a person yesterday and I've found them, make it happen. You need to understand and be ready for that kind of situation and be proactive in providing business for what it is. And we also talked about the DG human interface and optimizing the DG human interface. I think even though we have had standard programs like your salary or payroll systems that are typical in HR, we still think that most of what we do requires human resources. And rightfully so, because we believe that the most key resource in an organization is human resource, we must protect it at all costs. That is true. We must protect the human resource at all costs because that's the reason we have organizations. Organizations have been created to support someone. That person might be a shareholder, but there is a human being who's a beneficiary of an organization. And at the end of the day, if we are killing humans in the business space because we want to benefit a human who is a shareholder, that shareholder is actually killing himself because very soon he will not have a business, he will not have a consumer, and he will have rid the economy of its ability to propel and to be productive. So these are conversations we need to have with production managers, with our financial managers, with our accountants, because bean counters can be very, very narrow-minded. And when we're talking about the importance of people, they look at the organization alone. They look at their bottom line and their balance sheet. They don't look at the ecosystem of of South Africa and what it means to have a great population of people being out of jobs, because that then means it's a difficulty, and it's actually extenuating circumstances for sustainability of organizations. So if you read People Dynamics, you'll see that we share strategies that come from different angles of what is the alternative to getting rid of people when you think the most appropriate thing would be to get rid of them. And obviously to make sure that people are trained and are properly developed to thrive beyond your own organization means that, yes, you might lose the people or you might get them out of your immediate system, but you've empowered them to continue to become your stakeholders when they are out there, because I've been instrumental in re-engineering lots of companies where they would say, bottom line, your brief is cut 30% of this because we realize there's fat that needs to be trimmed. And yes, in my previous life, I didn't belong to the People Management Institute. I belonged to a commercial institute. And yes, the first step was, yes, gee, we're going to show a very healthy bottom line. But once I interfaced with the people that I was going to say goodbye to and keyed in the human in me, I realized that tomorrow these people's families are not going to eat. And fortunately, my first re-engineering job was with Transnet, Portnet as such. And they could afford to retrain people, reskill people, and even equip them to become entrepreneurs using skills that they had developed from the organization. So before you get rid of people, make sure that you have sufficiently equipped them, not just to be technical experts that can be productive in your organization, but that when they leave your organization, they will have a productive economic life. Because that way, they can come back and feed back to your organization when the situation is different. Because in most cases, when we want to automate, it's because we want efficiency. But to grow an organization, you need innovation. And if people don't understand your business, it's very difficult for them to innovate for your business. So you need people who have been in your system, who understand what you need. You can make them your advisory council, an alumni that can still feed into your business and where you can tap for innovation that can grow the business. Otherwise, we might as well close businesses. So the other stream was focusing on developing people, equipping people to be future fit, to be self-sufficient, and to be professionally secure. Much as we are the Institute for People Management, we do realize that professions have become a web. They have stopped being linear. Career ladders have stopped being vertical upright systems, but people can grow in whatever way their skills, their talent, their natural interests take them. And if you look at the very last article in People Dynamics, where it says, when employee engagement becomes the dark side of employee engagement, if you engage people so much that they hero worship you, they think there's no life outside your organization, you're actually creating suicides within your organizations. So the more you empower people and you empower them to create careers that will thrive and benefit your business, but that can succeed outside of your business, the better. Because people should be with you, not because they have to, but because they want to. People should not be, in fact, how many people here are in government? Okay, you guys listen, and listen very carefully. I coach, and I have stars that I have helped develop. They developed themselves, but I just enabled the people to develop. And they would have reached their ceiling in your organizations, in government organizations. And they would be giving my name as a reference. And I would find out what the person is supposed to do, what are their expectations, and I would feel that they are a perfect fit. And then a month later, I assume they got the job, and I assume they have moved on, and I contact them as a follow-up, and they tell me, no, those people couldn't afford me. And I'm saying, huh? That's because we pay in government so well that we actually captivate people. We make them prisoners of positions that they have outgrown. I would like you to rethink your remuneration, your development strategy right there. What you do about it is a subject for a think tank with IPM, where I think you will get this invitation, because we shouldn't retard people. We shouldn't constrain people. Time is gone for golden handcuffs and whatever. Don't shackle people. Because then, when they have to leave, they commit suicide rather than face their own families and tell them that the golden egg has disappeared. Let us equip people to know that within them, they have the capacity to thrive anywhere, not in a cushioned, protected environment of government employment. I don't know if you've seen the latest disemployment statistics. The country bled 69,000 jobs in the last quarter. And that is mainly through natural attrition in government, because we haven't fired anyone, but the private sector is actively getting rid of people. We don't want that to happen. And as we have to let people go, let's make sure that those people are properly equipped and they are professionally secure and confident to go beyond and live beyond your organization. And I speak the truth here. Lots of truths were spoken here. Government will have to shed jobs. Guys, whether you like it or not, if we collect such little taxes because those private companies have shed jobs, to finance government jobs, we need taxes. Without taxes, we have to let people go. Whether we do it now or we do it later, whether we finance the letting go with time by borrowing from international markets and getting ourselves deeper into debt, because you've seen we've moved from about 20% debt to 53% debt as South Africa. And that's because of the government cost of employment. And yes, I supported government by taking the initiative to absorb people, to lead the way for private sector and hire people, especially new entrants, people who were otherwise not employed by the racial previous regime. But let's not hire them and deprive them of growth. Let's hire them, grow them, and let them fly. Let's not hold them prisoners, because when the chop has to come, we want those people to have a future to look forward to, not suicide and issues that relate to our not capacitating them. There was also a stream here that talked to the balance between employee demands, business imperatives, and economic needs. And that, I've seen lots of unpopular statements being said there, that labor brokers are seen as the enemy. And yes, if you are from labor unions, of course they will be the enemy, because the people who are with labor brokers are probably not forced to pay regular fees to a labor union. But empowering people means being part of labor unions because they want to, because they understand that there can be growth through labor unions, not because they are scared that organizations are going to victimize them. So as HR practitioners and HR executives, let us not deprive people of their rights or compromise their development, that they lose respect for us and think the unions are salvation. Unions are meant to empower people to have collegiate association and be a vehicle to empower organizations to grow people and to be more aware of the needs, etc. But they are not to, for instance, when reality says you have plateaus, peaks and troughs in your employment, you will not have people that you can't pay because money doesn't come from heaven. I come from a rural community. My mother is a scientist who happens to have ventured more in plants and things like that. She was a teacher once upon a time. I know that if you do not wake up in the middle of a storm and protect plants and seedlings, you will not eat. But we hire people, and when they are not at work, we still pay them. And when they feel like taking 6 months maternity leave, because we are corporate, we pay them. And of course, if you have stashes of money that you have profited through the people, so should you. You should pay them. But if the companies have had to tighten their belts so much that it's luxury to have the fat, let us have a workforce that is sensitive to the needs and the situation of the organization, so that if we have to reduce whether it's the duration of your maternity leave and get people to work from home and to be productive, because without productivity, there is no income. So we need to have these conversations. They are uncomfortable, and legislation is such that they are taboo. But when you coach, when you coax people, make them understand the realities of business. Otherwise, the companies are going to have to fold and the people are going to lose jobs. And the discussion of dropping salaries, according to legislation, you can't just drop somebody's salary. But who was this legislation created for? Is it still relevant? Is it sustaining the economy? These are the topics of discussion that we need to have to reconfigure and rethink the policies, the legislation, in light of the reality that we are facing. Guys, this is not 1994. This is not the dawn of freedom. This is the middle of freedom with all its realities. And we have seen that economies are tough. The digital invasion is such that we need to be smart, but we also need to be human about us. If we can just engender the trust between workers in the workplace and the organizations, then solutions are possible. I would like the executives here to be transparent about their financials, because part of the reasons the unions push until everybody cracks is because we assume that there's always a big fat pot that is reserved for the shareholders. And the more transparency we have, the more we can all come to the party and realize when the organization is really in deep trouble, as long as we can share the spoils when the profits are there. And if we can just have these conversations as human resources, we should be coaching our leaders, our business leaders, the CEOs, and for that matter, even our board members, to be transparent with our workplace, because that's the only way they can trust us, the only way they can see us as partners instead of the employer and the worker. We are all partners, we are all families, and I think the more we understand business, the more we understand economics, the more we understand how we can change the mindset of entitlement and us and them in the workplace, the more South Africa can thrive, the more Africa can thrive, the more organizations can thrive. And if you worry about criminals and you live in a gated community and you drive a dark car because you're scared of crime, think again, because you probably, with your salary design and how you have structured executive pay versus vulgus or their pay, the big gap that you create right there is what make people lose interest in employment and ended up killing those that cream it in the boardroom. So there's no point in us earning top-notch salaries when the bottom end is struggling to such an extent that we have to protect ourselves against them. And you guys, as HR people, are the ones in the REMCOs and in whatever plans that you make, you are the ones who actually sign off or make these recommendations to leadership. And you are actually creating the crime. You are actually creating the big gap between the haves and the have-nots in this country. So don't let accountants influence you. Let your humanity, Ubuntu, influence you. This is the Institute for People Management, and people are at the center of what we do. Yes, we're talking people in the workplace, we're talking professionals, but we know that if we don't preserve the human person within the organization, we're creating criminals out there, and you could be instrumental towards that. So we're looking at sharing all the presentations with you, but we're not going to do it in an insensitive and an administrative way where we just send you all the presentations. When we send you the presentations, we want to draw you to the objectives of those presentations, the lessons that they were meant to drive. So if your procurement officer only signed here because he was hoping for a big volume of documents that will just sit in some library, I'm sorry to disappoint you, because that is not going to happen. People have had lots of material that they have not used, and we are saying engage us. When you want these presentations, let's know that you have learned from them and your organizations will learn through them. Having said that, actually that's not an official statement from IPM. If they have promised you presentations, I'm sure they will give them to you, despite what I think. So you must just remember, this is people dynamics, this is not IPM. So if you want presentations that can be dumped into your files in your libraries, you're welcome to it. But the people dynamics way, if you saw after last year's convention, we did the same thing. We shared your presentations with you through people dynamics, giving them context, giving you the optimum benefit from them to show you how you can practically use them in the workplace. And I think through IPM, probably even beyond just people dynamics, which is something you can read, there might be some roundtables where people who are interested in some of those topics will have access. And gone are the days when you want people around the room, you'll feel a room like this. I know when IPM would have workshops, they would have like 50 to 100 people, but 8 people with the right objective who are going to use the information the way it's supposed to benefit people is enough. So even if there's 4 of you in that round table to interrogate the material that was there, that is going to happen. As people dynamics, we are committing to that. We'll work with IPM to make sure that there are reviews that make sure you get the most out of these presentations. These people worked hard, and to have presented all that material according to the briefs that they were given had taken lots of research, and we would like you to respect the material and utilize it optimally. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say once again, thank you for having been here and showing your professionalism and your commitment to people as the key resource to grow not just the workplace, but the economy of South Africa. Because the reason we have businesses is because there are people to benefit. So those people who benefit need to know that we need people to make it work. Even if the people are supported by robots, are supported by digital software, by whatever, but people are driving this. The article that says, "He who rules the robot rules the workplace," is very much talking about how we all need to be digitally savvy. I liked it when the Henley team said that if you haven't thought about how they can automate your job and have a robot take over, do it now, before somebody pulls the rug under your feet. You need to see what elements are compassion related, are decision making related, and are intelligent in a creative way that cannot be replaced by a robot. If we don't all do that and preempt the change in the workplace and not think as administrators, but think as creatives, then not only are we securing our future in the workplace, but we're securing the future of humans and of people in the workplace, because then people will do what is essentially important for people to do and leave the mundane, boring, repetitive, and dangerous things to machines. So we are here to give inspiration through people dynamics, but also to give you access to things beyond HR that empower you to talk at collegiate level, and for that matter, at a coaching level with the business managers that make decisions beyond your own in the workplace. And I think with that, I would like to once again say thank you for being part of IPM, and for those that do read the magazine, thank you for applying what you read, and probably that is partly why you are here. And those that do not read People Dynamics, it probably is because you haven't taken your personal membership of IPM as a professional body. So do take up that membership and do benefit from the thought leadership that is brought to you by IPM through People Dynamics and other platforms. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Dr. Jerigul, the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the bottom of my heart and the other people's hearts from IPM, we really would like to thank you for being here, gracing us with your presence. We hope that the program that was put together has been useful. We'll hear from your feedback. We are going to be working hard with other companies to support what we do. The world of HR will never be the same. We may not believe it today because we are not seeing it, but we can see from the studies that in future, the work that you do and how you do it, I hope you live today with a sense of going back to your organization and to actually put on the agenda, guys, how are we going to deal with artificial intelligence? Don't see it as a threat. How are we going to take advantage of what is coming down the pike?